Hello, welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me here. In this space, I like to share intuitive guidance, clarity, spiritual support, and messages you need to hear right now. If you feel called to go deeper, I do offer personal readings. Those details are always in the description below. Let's get into today's video. Today, I'm going to be delivering a collective message about what you need to release, what's holding you back from your next level of growth, of freedom, prosperity, happiness. Okay, we have struggle, burden, and slow and steady. We have retreat, changes, movement into balance on the bottom of the deck. This is interesting. I feel there's something coming up around pacing, timing, expectations that you're being asked to release around timing. There's a lot that I feel around pacing that it feels mismatched, misaligned. So this could be that you're wanting to move faster than the rate of the natural growth of something in your life, whether it's an opportunity, a connection, an experience. It could be something like that. It could also just be that the pace you're wanting to take and the pace life feels like it's taking, they're different. So I feel what you're being asked to release, it has something to do with time, with pacing. So let's see what details I can get on this. It definitely brings me to fulfillment and expectations. Like when you have a very specific desire to feel a certain way, to have a certain experience that provides certain feelings. There's something about you're being asked to let go of control over the pacing of the experiences that you're wanting to see growth within, the exchanges, the opportunities. Let go of the need to get quick fulfillment from them. It's kind of reminding me of the conversations that we have about dopamine and when we mess up our receptors from all the content we consume and things like that. I don't know too much of the logical, informational, the factual stuff, but I know there's something standing out to me about energy like dopamine. It feels like you're being asked to create a little more space for just not resisting, putting your impression upon your experiences, the heavy expectations that you might go into the day with of how we desire for things to be. Sometimes it's not even, I don't think it's a conscious thing. I don't think it's a conscious, I wake up every day expecting for life to look this way. It's just that we prefer to feel a certain way naturally. So we will unconsciously resist anything that will go against that. So we're already struggling just through the day when we have these unconscious things we're resisting against, like not trying to feel, not trying to be met with. There's certain conflicts we don't know how to handle. So the way we internalize that, we can start to have these strong hopes or expectations for the day to not rock these feelings, not touch these wounds, not touch these frustrations. So we're spending energy protecting ourselves from feeling something, but it doesn't work because life happens and these things get triggered anyway. And now we're left with these feelings. So there's something about removing some need for an external stimuli, something that you could be feeling a heavy attachment to, the responses you're getting, the results you're getting from it, the outcomes, the timing, whatever feels most prominent for you now in that area. And also what's interesting is the movement into changes or movement into balance came out in the reverse, and retreat and changes came out upright. So to me, that's saying that whatever you are asked to let go of, you are asked to let go of. This is it's a bit of a difficult message to communicate, but you're asked to let go of it by being more still, finding more space for stillness, whether that's actual rest, meditation, quiet reflection, journaling, things of that nature. Because exercise could be great, but retreat to me doesn't give me, you're trying to shake out the trauma. It's not like that. It's more like whatever is unsettled or working to settle itself within you, you're settling it by, I want to say it's like humbling yourself to the energy of whatever you feel, your emotions. And what it makes me think of is something that I really struggle to do that I want to do more of, and those are body scan meditations, because they ask you to lie really still and then to be present with these sensations and emotions that come up in your body and to really do nothing about it. And it's different than a normal meditation because the amount of attention and focus that you're putting onto specific body parts, and that amount of presence in your body when you're not used to it can feel quite uncomfortable. That's exactly what this makes me think about though. So maybe there's something in there for somebody that you could benefit from. Anyone, all of us benefit from somatic work at all times, but the kind of work that we might need is different depending on where we are, because some methods don't work well with where we are. And that's why it's really great to experiment and put things down when they aren't working. So there's something. What feels conflicting to me is like there's no specific end to healing and knowing when we're done with stuff. So what this makes me think is the reason why you're being asked to be a bit more still with the discomfort inside is because everything is wanting to rise up to the top, which makes me think about the chakras and how everything starts at the root, and the root wants to stabilize and then it starts to move and spiral. I feel the energy is wanting to move past the solar plexus into the heart, the throat, the higher chakras. There's something about that. It feels challenged this week, which did come out in the latest reading that I put out. A lot of challenge in my solar plexus. I'm not feeling it as strongly in this video, but I still get a sense of it. There's just a squeezing, a tightness, which reminds me of struggles with our willpower, struggles with our drive and our motivation, our passion, our aggression. It's sometimes suppressed, it's sometimes channeled in the wrong way. And I do feel there's a healing trying to happen there at this time to help the energies to rise. So I guess with that, they're saying when you know what you're doing and the purpose behind it, it makes it more meaningful for you. So if you're sitting or meditating or whatever technique you're using to process energy and emotion, what helps you to feel relaxed, what helps you to take deep breaths, to yawn, to get those physical releases. There's something about saying, as you're doing these things, remember that you're doing these things to help the energy rise. So it's not meant to be something to entrap you. It's for release, it's for a higher purpose. I think that could really help with the overall experience, like the ease of the experience. We have constancy, messenger, and thought. Yeah, you have to break the cycling of certain thoughts. And to me, they're saying like you can do that well with physical interruption, like pattern interruption, doing things you wouldn't normally do. This is really making me think of the whole body scan. And I tried to do one recently. I didn't get through it because it felt uncomfortable. And that's literally the point. It's to learn to tolerate better sensation, and also sometimes sensations release just from being present with them. It's pretty cool. Sometimes things just start to fade, sometimes they move, and what that's taught me is that everything inside is really more connected than it seems. So when we are trying to run from certain feelings that we have or not want to face them in our day-to-day, it's kind of like fighting our own body. And I do believe that this creates certain illness patterns within us from the stress of we are waking up every day trying to avoid things that give us anxiety, but we're carrying the anxiety inside, and then there's like a tug of war and the body's fighting itself. These are little pieces that are making sense to me, but there's something about breaking thought patterns, breaking the lines of energy running through your mind based on what's constant, what you know, what's been a pattern that's not serving where you're trying to go. And I think that makes sense with the energy wanting to move up. That means it's wanting to shift to a different frequency. That means the frequency of thoughts and feelings within the realm that you've been in, it's not serving you to where you're trying to go now, or the way the thoughts are funneling. It's like there needs to be a cleansing process. Even with conversation and priest coming out, that makes me think of the conversations going on within. The priest is acting as a sort of clearance or some type of holding space for you to process all these things and change the inner dialogue. So what you're being asked to release is are outcomes, timing, external things, really. Also like constant patterns that you might find yourself spiraling in, where it's like you start to recognize that, okay, I'm just spiraling within these thoughts, but it's not serving me a purpose, or it's detrimental to me. I keep being brought to like breaking the pattern, doing something different. Okay, so what's interesting, I have the wedding and the sorrow, and I got this after thinking about the whole breaking the pattern thing. And to me, it's reminding me once again of this whole body scan, because it's symbolic of coming into connection with these parts of you that need love, and holding those parts of you compassionately in ways that maybe you're not used to. Maybe it's a little awkward. It just makes me think of like when we're trying new ways to love ourselves. It can feel inauthentic at first because it's not normal yet to you, but eventually you really do start to believe and feel all the things that you tell yourself, even though maybe you didn't start out the most confident or the most secure in what you're telling yourself. So it's reminding me of the basics of what we learn when we get onto our spiritual journey about manifesting, and you attract what you think and you attract how you feel, and what you give out comes back, like those basic laws. There's something about, let's clean up what we're giving out a bit, because we've been through a lot and the energies get stuck and sometimes they're not moving as much as they need to. So this is also making me think, for some reason, eating with the sacral, there's something about, like, I'm thinking like potatoes, like sweet potatoes, ground foods. There's something about ground vegetables and earthy foods, like that grounding will help the energies to move as well. So that's another message. If you feel inspired to have more soups or stews or earthy vegetable foods like that, it could be really beneficial. Our bodies, they're not always as efficient as they could be for different reasons. We need to support them and give them extra boosts. So okay, let's see. So we have reunion and size here. I'm being drawn to feelings of disappointment, longing. I feel you're being asked to almost like stop. There's something that maybe you could be holding out space for that is draining you. It's making me think of when someone's done you wrong and you're waiting on an apology, and that emptiness that just sits there of like waiting, that energy could be used for better things. So I'm kind of seeing they're saying that's symbolic of some of your energy right now could be going toward things that are more so just draining it and expelling it, and they're not actually giving you anything back. So anywhere where you're noticed that you're like giving energy, even if you're just giving as in you're thinking about the situation, you're putting a lot of mental focus on it, it's having a lot of effect on you, but you're not actually receiving anything from it, anything supportive to you, that's a problem. That's an issue. And I feel it has less to do with other people, though it may, because there's definitely a man and a woman here, and this could definitely have to do with an immature person that you're dealing with. But if not a person, it's more so the way you are processing stuff. It just makes me think of, sometimes you have to go through things many, many times before you see it clearly enough to say, okay, there's not change that's going to happen here. I need to make a pivot. You're doing the same thing over and over and it's not getting a different result. I need to pivot. It's something about that for yourself, where whatever you were spiraling within a lot, could be these last few years, like patterns, you're just like at your wit's end. Describing this thing called empathy burnout, or compassion fatigue. This can come from just being a person who's naturally very caring and empathetic. It can come from being in a role of caregiving. It can come from growing up being parentified and carrying a lot of responsibility. And you eventually get to this point where you're fatigued of caring for other people. And you can start to feel confused on who you are because you know you're such a loving person. You do care for people, but the energy that you once had to give, you no longer do. So it can make you more irritable, less giving, less extending, not because you don't want to, but because you haven't been replenished. You've given a lot and there hasn't been a lot of a receptivity or replenishment for you. But to me, this is that real conversation where it's like, who's gonna do that for you? If not you, and if not you putting yourself around the right people that would do that for you as well. It's not only about doing things for yourself, but at least making sure you give yourself a fighting chance to be around people who want to uplift and support you. Because if you don't give yourself that fighting chance, then you end up feeling alone, bitter, resentful at the end of the day. So they're not saying you have to do everything alone, but I do see something about you're not waiting on anyone to give you what you need in a particular area. And I do feel like this could deal a lot with assurance, like reassurance. Because when I'm looking at this woman, I just see her needing a hug, needing a friend, wanting a word, that type of thing, wanting to hear something, but it's not there. She's on a beach alone and it's not looking like it's coming. So with that, we find different methods. We find different ways to provide ourselves with what we need when we can't get it from environments around us. There's something about that. So you're not waiting on things. You're going to find a way to provide yourself with what you need. And that can also look like going to alternative sources for help. So maybe we're used to looking for immediate sources of like comfort, but we could benefit from what I'm seeing here. The doctor reminds me of a professional or someone external to us. So that's what it reminds me of. The whole message is, if you're not getting what you need from one area, don't sit around just wondering why and being upset and continuing to, throw your hook over there when you know that you're not getting any fish. You haven't gotten fish in the last 3 months and you're just trying again. There's something about you have to just change the routine. Okay, it really just makes me think of someone who's learning to be a friend to themselves. But with that, you could be closing off the world a bit. You could be shutting other people out. You could be protecting yourself against other people who you feel might not have your best intentions at heart. Because when I look at the scholar and the soldier, I look at someone who is very determined to grow and evolve, but who's also guarded to anyone that wants to interrupt that process of growth, evolution. And of course, sometimes that can get a little extreme when we've been through so much. But at the same time, it's an absolutely necessary evil sometimes to put walls up to protect ourselves in ways where we haven't been protected before. It is really important to stand up for ourselves against things we feel are intruding on our space. I'm just also seeing a potential here for like this extreme jump of, how we are as humans, like we get hurt by a few people and we're like, everyone's terrible. Like you just give up on everyone. They are warning against that, because when the energy is so heavy and extreme, what feels real to you at that moment is a very limited perception. So it's very interesting. I feel a lot of growing and learning potential by learning to show yourself support in different ways. And this definitely makes me think of like going back to save yourself, which sounds weird to say, but it takes me immediately to like things you've been through in the past, times where you couldn't support yourself back then. Now you're like showing up in a way where it somehow is soothing past energy as well. It's soothing the inner child within you. So with everything that's going on, do remember that your adult self is not the only one interpreting life around you and processing it. We still have parts of ourselves that are often interpreting things around us from a very, you could say outdated lens, a younger lens on life. And we want to make sure we're working to soothe those parts of ourselves that get really anxious, that are afraid of being abandoned, that are afraid of being alone, that don't sometimes trust in higher powers or trust that our needs will be met, because there's been times in the past when our needs were not met and where we were waiting or looking for something, but there was no response there. So a lot of self-soothing is needed at this time, just to avoid greater collapse. So the better you can self-soothe, the better the outcome will be for you in the long run. Better outcomes will be in general. So this just all these readings so far have been a lot about processing. So I'm sensing, since we're moving up in the chakras, that, excuse me, in coming weeks, as I'm going to be doing them, probably going to be more in the inspired, action, expression driven energy, but I don't sense all of that just yet. So that's what I'm sensing and seeing for this collective message. I hope that this message on what to release at this time serves you. Once again, I'm going to leave my information down below for anyone with personal questions that you would like some insight into, and I will see you guys in a future video.